So, Dr. Ononuju, is interesting because politics in Nigeria is an atmosphere where allegations and counter-allegations exist. So, when you're accusing the APC as the originator of vote buying, I've heard severally when they accuse your party also as wanting as the originator of vote buying. So, as it stands right now, usually what you see and you observe is during the election is a case of who has the bigger money, who has more money, are you saying that your party and your candidates in your party don't involve themselves in vote buying?
What I'm telling you is you have to look at the system. When we were in power, they were in this case of vote buying. They accused us of all sorts of things. So if I can actually compare Professor Jega's conducted elections, we never heard about vote buying. Since the APC has come into power, today now we hear about vote buying, vote buying. There has never been an election where PDP won and you heard about vote buying since the present era. In all the elections, governorship where the APC has won, the incidence of vote buying has been prevalent, so much so it was seen there in Ondo, it was seen now in Ekiti, and we are complaining that this is a brand new cancer. Where did we go wrong? If we don't come together to save their democracy, the APC will use vote buying to kill our country. And I believe this is no good. So we need President Buhari to sign into law quickly the new amendment to the Electoral Act. Since the very third item that he said he doesn't like, which is a stagger of the elections, had been removed by the Senate, he should go on and sign the election, sign the new amended law, so that we can
let me allow Honorable Jide Jimoh to quickly
fighting vote buying, and we're also now fighting the other of a collusion.
Let me allow Honorable Jide Jimoh to react to some of those things you heard. He said it's in this dispensation.
I don't even need to react. I can only respond.
Okay.
This is not a matter of action and reaction. I am here to respond accordingly. It is laughable for him to have said that. We are in this country where we learned for the first time the word capturing from PDP. We are in this country where we learn ballot stuffing in this country by PDP. We are in this country where we have learned about thuggery, maiming, cowboy tactics everywhere by PDP. Now they have now introduced another way out. Vote buying, vote selling. They have a humongous amount of money to buy this. Where do you think APC will get the money to do all this? The government that I just started? Where do you think we get money to buy people conscious? But we will convince people, we will consult people, we will campaign for people, and we make sure we do the right thing at the right time. They are used to that. They are synonymous with rigging. Section 124 of the Electoral Act 2010, as amended, is very clear. 126 is also very clear. It's about corruption and bribery. Section 129 and 130 is also very clear and explicit. The problem we have is this. Section 150, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act, as amended, only empowers INEC to prosecute. They cannot investigate. They cannot make arrest. It is only...
So that's the problem.
That's the problem.
So even if you catch someone buying or selling votes, there's nothing you can do
my brother that's just talking, you know what he's talking about? They are synonymous with rigging, and gone are the days. This is the time for us to fight them accordingly.
In 2019?
In time of corruption. They are so corrupt.
You think 2019 we might see more vote buying?
No, I cannot say it here. I don't engage in vote buying. Rather, will I engage myself in vote selling? I have the right to vote. I cannot sell my vote. And I don't have the right to buy, but I cannot buy any vote.
All right.
But I will convince and campaign people for my party and candidate.
All right.
That is the key.
Let's take a quick break. It's going to be a very dynamic conversation around the future of 2019 elections and how it will go. Whether or not it will be successful, we dissect it. Up next, no doubt the 2019 general election will be keenly contested, but we will look at a race that may be described as perhaps the race of the decade. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. We've been looking at 2019 general elections. It's going to be a keenly contested race, no doubt. A lot of Nigerians will see how some of the contestants, because, for example, it's going to be the first time we'll have 91 registered political parties running for this race. So you might find up to that presidential candidates in the ballot. So when that happens, how do you think the race will pan out? So, apart from the issues of vote buying, there is one fundamental issue on the cap over the spendings during the elections. And let me break it down for you. According to what the law says, that there are spending limits, according to the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, that for the presidential election, the cap is 1 billion, governorship election 200 million, senatorial election 40 million, House of Reps 20 million, House of Assembly 10 million. So Section 92, subsection 3 requires every political party to submit 6 months after every election an audited revenue and expenditure report of their party. So are they doing this? Are they spending more than this? How come perhaps our election have been over monetized? So let's get back to the conversation. I'll bring into the conversation an election observer and a lawyer, Mr. Samson Itodo, who joins us from Port Harcourt in Rivers State. Thank you so much, Mr. Itodo, for your time on the program. So you have been monitoring elections, and the last election you monitored was in Ekiti, where the issues of vote buying also came up. What are your findings?
Thank you very much, Shehu. Talking about vote buying, I think there are 4 key issues that needs to be raised. First is the fact that vote buying is not a new phenomenon or a new political behavior in Nigeria. It's been with us. The only change we have seen is actually the machine of operation and the methodology deployed by politicians. In Ekiti, I can tell you for a fact that the 2 major parties were involved in buying votes. It was just a question of who outspent the other, and we've got evidence to actually show that both parties actually bought votes. And what we are beginning to see is that elections are now determined by the highest bidder. So cash for votes now is an emerging determining factor for elections. And it's replacing discourse on the capacity, the competence, and the credibility of political candidates presented by parties. The second is vote buying is beginning to replace anti-polls and rigging tactics by politicians. Ballot stuffing and result falsification is no longer attractive to politicians because it is now very difficult as a result of the reforms introduced by INEC for political parties to rig elections. And so we're seeing these incidents reoccurring at several elections. And the third is the fact that vote buying is actually an exploitation of the poor. And the ruling political class is hell-bent on ensuring that the poor are actually exploited. And rather than engage in value-based politics, they are more interested in going to the polling station to buy votes from voters. The law is very, very clear. Section 124 and 125 criminalizes vote buying. But we know the challenges we have with electoral prosecution. I've heard the INEC chairman talk about restructuring voting cubicles and ballot boxes. Honestly, I think it's just cracking the surface because the machine of operation that we saw in Ekiti, first, online transaction. We saw in Ekiti where parties were actually transacting and buying votes online, and that didn't happen within the parameters of the polling station. The second is the fact that you see what you call very suspicious empowerment programs. And as we speak, even for 2019, both parties are already buying votes. You are beginning to see some very questionable programs, what you call empowerment programs that simply targeted at scoring favors from voters. But this is something we need to address. It's undermining political legitimacy, and we have to rise up to the occasion as a country. First, for individuals who have been arrested, and the police actually said they arrested a couple of people involved in vote buying, we need to ensure that they are prosecuted. We also need to ensure that we discourage citizens from selling their votes at elections.
All right.
Because when you...
something, just a moment.